There is no such thing as good or bad. There's only what you want and what you do to get it. And when life gives you lemons, you squeeze them in the eyes of your enemies.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Modern Life Podcast. I am Sam, joined today by...
Tabby.
What's going on? Today we are talking about the fairly recent game, Desperados 3. Came out a few months ago. But as always, before we dive into it, we're going to get into some modern thoughts. You want to start? What's on your mind?
My modern thought is about a video that's been going viral by YouTuber Nigel Ning. I hope I'm saying that name right.
I don't know who that is.
Well, you do because he plays Uncle. He plays Uncle Roger. Yeah. So he has this character called Uncle Roger who always wears an orange shirt, and he reviews white people cooking rice or British people cooking rice. And his video where he reviews Jamie Oliver's fried rice recipe is absolutely hilarious. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just him kind of freaking out at all the mistakes that Jamie Oliver makes, like putting chili jam instead of sriracha.
It's like a white English boy version of, like, I don't know if you can call it fried rice. It's something. It's food. Yeah. I don't know if I'd call it fried rice.
I made my manager watch it. He's Japanese American, and Jamie Oliver keeps putting olive oil into his fried rice.
So weird.
And at the end of the video, he just douses the bowl in olive oil and then puts the rice in. And my manager's hands just went up to his face. It's like, what is happening? So it's just really funny.
I'm a white boy from Germany living in Southern California, and even I know, not like the second I saw him put olive oil, I'm like, what? I'm like, no, like coconut oil, get some sesame, like literally anything but olive oil. It's like doesn't match. It's so weird.
Olive oil doesn't have a high heat tolerance, so it's not the best to cook with.
Olive oil just also has a very distinct flavor that I just would not think would go with fried rice. It's very weird.
What's yours?
I actually have two.
Ooh.
First one I'll make really fast because I think it's just a fun fact that I read about the other day, which is that, well, it's actually not so fun, is that I was reading about all the pollution in space around the Earth, and if you count just all the little particles, every single little debris, there's a total of 129 million pieces of just little bits floating around just from all the times we've gone to space and launched satellites. I'm like, I knew it was a lot. I didn't know it was that much. But the article talked about this new company that's trying to, it's this little rocket that shoots out foam all over its sides, and then the foam like instantly kind of freezes, right? Because it's in space. And then as this little satellite thing is floating around, the foam catches all, because they're not talking about all the big stuff floating around, like all the little things. Mm-hmm. And then it gets caught in these foam arms. I was like, that's kind of a cool idea.
And then what do they do with it? Just bring it down to Earth and put it in the ocean?
Honestly, I think so. Then they bring it back to Earth and it pretty much just burns up in the atmosphere. But the worry is that at some point there's going to be so much junk we can't. Like,
what are we gonna do with it?
Well, just you're not gonna be able to like launch any more rockets or get.
Oh, interesting.
Because there's gonna be just so much stuff in the way between you and space. Anyways, that was a fun little fact. But my main modern thought is we have that PlayStation Now subscription service where you can stream the games and whatever. And Days Gone was on there.
Oh yeah.
3 weeks ago, they put on there. I'm like, I was looking for new stuff to play, and I'm like, okay, like.
What's Days Gone?
So Days Gone is this open world zombie survival game, and I'm honestly kind of over the zombie stuff at this time, at this point. But the game got decent reviews and it looked good. I'm like, let me give it a try. And so I'm on the first, there's a bunch of little stuff in the beginning, but the first main mission when you get to kind of your safe hut, I start going from there, and down the road you encounter some bad guys, and I was still figuring out the controls, and my encounter did not go as I wanted it to, and being a perfectionist. I'm like, I don't want to get hurt at all. I just want to kill these guys and do like a very clean run through of this mission. I'm like, let me try this again. Because I'd saved right before the encounter. I'm like, let me load this up again. And I load the game, and it brings me all the way back to the beginning of the mission. I'm like, oh, that's weird. Maybe I loaded the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
I load a different file, another save file that I had right before, and that brings me back even before I get to the safe headquarters. It plays the entire cinematic cutscene before I even got there. It's like not even the beginning of the mission. I'm like, what is happening? So I'm digging through Reddit threads. I'm like, how does the saving in this game work? And it turns out you can only save if you're next to the whole game is based around having this motorcycle, which I haven't even had yet. The first mission was to get your motorcycle. So you can save when you're next to your motorcycle or when you're like next to a bed, like Grand Theft Auto, like, when you're asleep and it saves. But the game never explained this to you. I'm like, why do I have to dig through Reddit threads to find out how this saving works? And you made a really good point when I brought this up, which is they put thousands of hours of testing into these games. Like, this is not a AAA game, but it's definitely up there as far as the budget goes for this game. I'm like, how did was nobody annoyed at this weird saving thing? I don't know. It pissed me off so much. I just like deleted the game. I'm like, I have no time for this.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be able to save. It'd be one thing to bring me back. What's a good example? I mean, Last of Us, right? If you
at the beginning of the encounter,
it just kind of brings you to the beginning of the encounter, which I'm like, that's what I was looking for. But this brought you just all the way back. It just seemed so dumb. I'm like, I have no time to deal with this. I just want like a fun game to play. I don't want to mess with this saving stuff. And just the fact that the game never bothered to tell me how the saving works. I was just like so over it. I'm like, all the little details these people pay attention to, but like saving the game is a main part of a game, and that should be just kind of flawless and explained right away.
Yeah.
It just infuriated me.
That same manager that I was just talking about in my Modern Thought, he started out in the video game industry, and he says he can't really play games anymore because he's right back to just testing. Like, he can't enjoy the game. He's like having flashbacks of crunch and, But so, yeah, they have people who are just trying to basically break the game and trying to find all the flaws with it for hours on end sitting at a computer. So I find it really strange that so many other people had that experience on Reddit with the save, and it wasn't caught at any point before the game came out.
Oh, and yeah, when I finally found some Reddit threads, there was so many people that were like, yeah, this is my 5th time going through just the first mission, and it puts me back at the beginning every time, and it's so frustrating. And I was like, I mean,
that's not a good start.
God bless these people for doing this 5 times. I was over it after the first time. I'm like, I am not. Like, if I got almost to the end of the mission and then for whatever reason died, and then you have to just go all the way back, I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm good. No, thank you. Anyways.
Understandable. Desperados.
Let's talk about it. Desperados 3. Bang, 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 bang. Yeah, I guess that should be the first thing I'm going to mention. The music is fantastic.
So great. I was listening to it in the car.
It's a really good soundtrack. And so for people that aren't familiar with this franchise, I have a little timeline here. There's other offshoots of Desperados games I had even no idea about. So Desperados 3 actually it's a prequel that takes place before the first Desperados game, which came out in, I didn't write this down, like early 2000s, right? Like, we grew up playing it. It was a big hit in Germany.
We got it for Christmas, and I'll try to post a picture of us online freaking out getting the PC game for Christmas.
The first Desperados is a really good game with an equally great soundtrack. And then what happened is they made Desperados 2, which was pretty much a hot mess, if I remember it.
I tried to play it, and I could not get into it.
I remember playing a few missions and just dropping the game. And one of the things I totally forgot about Desperados 2 is it let you switch. So these games are these overhead view, kind of strategy games. And Desperados 2 did it where you could switch from that view into like a third-person view. I don't know if you remember this at all. I was looking at the gameplay footage, and I did not remember this being a thing. So you could do your strategy thing from up above, and then when you wanted to kill someone, you could switch into like third-person, or either third or first person, I forget.
It sounds good in theory.
Right, it sounds good in theory, but watching people play it on YouTube, I'm like, it just did not work at all. And also just kind of looking at the maps and everything, they don't look pretty. It doesn't seem to be all that intricate. Like, I don't know what happened with Desperados 2, but it's no bueno. And then there was a game after Desperados 2, which I had no idea existed. It's called Hell Dorado. I don't know if you knew this.
I read about it online, but I don't know what it is.
It just focused on John Cooper, from what I read. It didn't have the whole gang of Desperados. Yeah, they called it Hell Dorado, and from what I can tell, it totally flopped, and the game looks really ugly it's like just really weird graphics. It's this thing where they keep trying to, this kind of 2D overhead view is not enough. It has to be more like 3D, and just did not age well. It looks really bad.
Looks like they went really back to basics though with this game then.
They did, but that's what I think is so weird is they make these other two games after Desperados 1, and everything that works about Desperados 1, they like throw it out the window. Like, we have to make it bigger and better. And I'm like, no. Like, Desperados 1 is a great game. You just have to expand on the characters and, maybe give me some more abilities. You don't have to make this like a third-person shooter. That's not what this game is. So very strange, and I think that's probably why those games don't work. So Desperados 3 is sort of kind of Desperados 4 if you count Hell Dorado, but there's not that many interviews of the developers making the game, like behind the scenes, but from the few things I was able to find, the people that made Desperados 3 is this group of people that grew up with Desperados 1 and really liked that game, and like, went back to basics, because Desperados 3 feels like what Desperados 2 should have been. It's just this big expansion. It's a little bit better graphics, like these giant, beautiful maps, and there's no third-person view. Like it's like what Desperados 1 was, and it works so well still in 2020.
So how do you feel about the price? Because when this game came out, it was around $60. It came out at the same time of Last of Us, and we decided to do Last of Us instead, which was maybe a mistake because this game was more fun. So we waited for the price to drop, but I do find it interesting that the game is as expensive as one of these AAA games when it first came out, and yet there are no cutscenes in this, which is something I really loved about the first game.
Yes, so I definitely missed, and we'll get to the characters in this game and the character building, but I definitely missed having those cutscenes. It made in the first Desperados, there's always these great cutscenes in between missions that this game doesn't have, and to me, those cutscenes help me just kind of immerse into that world, and it brings these characters more to life, seeing them in like 3D animation cinematic cutscenes. So I definitely missed that, but we'll get back to that. As far as the price, I was actually kind of reading up on some stuff about video game pricing, and games used to be $50, now they're $60, but overall the price has really stayed the same. And the budget of these games, when you talk about like a Last of Us, all these AAA games, has exponentially increased, like how much it takes to make a big budget video game compared to back in the day, but yet the price of buying a video game hasn't gone up accordingly with that. So
The Last of Us should really be $100.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Like these, like
motion capture,
like Grand Theft Auto, like where people just spend years making these games and it costs millions, of dollars. Like these games probably should cost way more than $60, but I don't think anyone's willing to pay that.
I think they would, though. I think
Maybe.
If there was some kind of guild for animators and these people weren't just abused making games in the Cats movie, and they had actual workers' rights, maybe we'd be okay with paying more for games.
So, I think for $60, I think it's
fine.
I think it's fine, especially because you have to buy the extra DLC stuff, which is always annoying, but the game it's quite long. It's not like a short game. There's 13 missions, I believe it was, and they're all fairly long missions, most of them. Like I feel like you get your money's worth. It's not like a strategy game you're over with in like 8 hours, you know. You spend a good amount of time with this game, and then there's a bunch of extra missions and
challenges.
Yeah, and well, the Baron missions I think are free, but then there's
I did most of them. Yeah.
So you get the 13 missions, and there's a bunch of these Baron missions where you replay the missions, but it's totally different. Is the best way I can explain that. And then there's a bunch of DLC missions you can buy. So, because they could have done the Baron missions and charge extra for those too if they wanted to, which they didn't. So I feel like you get your money's worth for $60. I don't think it's bad at all. Where do you want to start? You want to talk about the crew?
Yeah,
the
go
characters?
ahead. Go ahead.
Honestly, the characters in this game are probably... They're all fun to hang out with, but they're all very cliche, and there's no depth at all to the characters. I don't know if you find that.
I don't know. It's better than the first one, though.
Is it?
There are a lot of stereotypes. I mean, you had like the Chinese girl, and she was constantly quoting Confucius, and then you had Sanchez, the Mexican guy who was always drinking tequila, and like just like a lot.
Yeah, but the Mexican,
I guess this Hector is kind of the
Hector
same
is
as Sanchez.
Hector is basically just Sanchez with the bear trap. Like they're the big Mexican guy that can carry 2 bodies instead of one, and he's kind of the comic relief. I don't know. It's like. And yeah, the first scene you meet him, you're like drinking at a bar with him. It's like always like the drunk Mexican guy.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
Yeah, they are just kind of cutouts, but I think the game is aware that it's doing that.
Right. I guess I actually don't mind the stereotypical characters because this game is very much like the idea of this glorified Wild West that I grew up watching, like John Wayne Westerns as a kid. This very kind of like, yeehaw, like clean white boy Western. And
well, I think it's more about their relationships too. I think they spend a lot of time on, Isabel and Doc, for example, or the backstory between John
their
and
relationship
Sanchez
is the best.
Yeah.
Between Isabel and Doc, there's like a lot going on of back and forth and loyalty, and I really enjoyed that. And the rest is just kind of like, man, I don't. And going back to the cutscenes, I don't feel quite immersed with these characters, even though Desperados 1, there's equally not that much character building, but I feel more like just seeing what John Cooper really looks like, and he's like, and I definitely miss that in Desperados 3.
Yeah, just by the cutscenes.
Because even if there wasn't a big cutscene in Desperados 1, I don't know if you remember, there's these, like, between missions as it's loading, there's these animated, like the train is going across the map, but it's all animated, like this red line moving, but this game didn't have any of that. It just kind of loads, and you, like, read something about the next mission on the side. It's all very static.
Oh, I see, yeah.
I guess I just kind of miss a more interactive...
Wild
West storytelling thing between missions. I think that would have been a nice touch.
Yeah.
But, it's a lot of work to also animate all that stuff. So, I mean, and they definitely spent their time. Like, some of the missions are ginormous in this game. Like, they definitely spent a lot of time on it, especially the last one. Like, when it first gives you the overview, I'm like, it's gigantic.
The one in the mine, too. That was one of my favorite ones. And so many different ways to approach it.
Yeah. I mean, the prettiest one is the New Orleans mission. Like, just all the lights at night. It just the game looks great. Like, the maps are amazing. And I love how they added all these interactive kills. Like, when you can, like, drop rocks on people or...
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
The environmental kills.
Yeah, the environmental kills. Yeah. I love that because I don't think that was a thing in the first one. Right?
There were a few, but...
Maybe a couple. But there's one in every single mission in this one, and it's fun.
Yeah,
I'm always trying to seek those out. Drop a big boulder on somebody.
Church bell. Well, the game does look really nice. I had a lot of glitches. I wanted to keep track of them, and then I just gave up because it was never ending. We tried different things, like having me not connect to the internet and so on. Even with the Baron missions, the challenges, it would glitch out.
So this is where we had a big discrepancy because we both play on the same PlayStation 4, but we have different accounts. And I maybe had like one glitch all game long. And it was something minor where like Isabel has this power where she can connect two people, and then when you kill one of them, both of them dies. That was glitching out on me one time, and I think that's the only thing that ever happened. But your game
my music
constantly
stopped.
crashed.
Yeah.
You had so many huge issues, and we couldn't figure it out because we're playing on the same PlayStation. Yeah, just we couldn't figure it out. It was very weird because I had like a flawless experience with this game, and
Most people did online because I looked it up, and I guess it's just me. So,
but yeah, I didn't have a problem with it. I just want to get back to the characters for a minute, real fast again, because in the first game, the first character you get is this guy named Sam. Well, he works like on a plantation, but because I rewatched the whole mission from Desperados 1.
You did? He's trying to stage an uprising?
Because I remember it as being that they were all slaves, but they're not. They work on this plantation, but they're
no, it takes they're no. I mean,
I don't know why I remembered it like that. They're technically freed at this point, but they're not. I mean, they're still getting paid like shit and everything. Yeah. And when you meet him, Desperados 1, they're like, oh, hey, old friend, and it's like these guys have known each other forever. And there's no mention of him in this game. And this game takes place right before the first one. And actually, so Desperados 1 takes place in 1881, and this game takes place in 1875. So it's only a 6-year difference. So if they're that old of friends, well, they can't be that old of friends if he's never mentioned like 6 years before.
I did miss Sam, yeah.
I thought that was strange. That would have been like a good way to tie him into, since this is a prequel, tie him into the first game. So it's kind of weird that he's not in this.
And not even have him as a character, even just have him maybe show up.
Yeah, show up like in one mission or like anything. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, do you have a favorite character? Is it Isabel?
Isabel is really fun to play with. There was one mission where basically just annihilated everybody.
I feel like she's slightly overpowered.
Yeah, she's a little...
She can swim. She can climb up the vines. Her kill is really quick with whatever little knife she has there. She can, as I said, connect two people and then just kill one of them and they both die. So you can just...
She can heal.
She can heal herself. You can take out so many people at once with her. Because I can connect two people, then mind control one of them, shoot another guy, and then that guy will get shot, which will kill the person I connected with. You can kill like 3-4 people like with one gunshot. It's amazing.
And the thing is, like, especially in the first game, my favorite character was always Doc. He has this like dry sense of humor. He's always fun. He
Doc's
has a sniper.
just an a-hole in this
right?
game.
Yeah, he's the worst. He has some character growth. But we thought it was really strange that those gas vials from the first game that you can even pick up ammo for, you only have one vial each mission no matter what you do. And then I think because you have this mentality of I have to save it, I ended up using it maybe twice throughout the whole game.
I really never used it because, and I don't know if I remember this right, but in the first game I think, and maybe it doesn't, I thought it killed people in the first game, but maybe not. It just knocks them out. Yeah, you only get 1 or 2 vials, and you
every mission.
never ever get refills for it.
Very strange. I don't know why, because it's really not that powerful. They wake up right away.
Yeah, they don't stay asleep that long either.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's like where all of Isabel's powers are amazing, and then someone like Doc. I mean, I use the sniper all the time just to take out the people that were high up. That's super useful, and you constantly get ammo for that. But then, his other powers. I mean, the suitcase is good. But the vial sucks. Cooper's Cooper. He's good all around.
That knife.
I love being able to, throwing the knife. Yeah. Just throw knife. Go hide in bush. Wait till everything calms down. Go pick up knife. Throw another knife. You could do that all game long. Who am I missing here?
I love the bear trap, honestly. I use
a bear trap's nice with Sanchez. I like with Cooper the coin and how you can throw it, like if someone's behind a horse. And then you throw it at the horse and it'll kick the guy. Again, those environmental kills are fantastic.
And I didn't use Kate as much, but you did, no?
Yes and no. I mean, I did use her to seduce people all the time and distract them, but besides that, it's kind of... She's not all that useful. I mean, her gun is quiet, but it only goes 5 feet out. And then her character is just obnoxious with the fact that you constantly have to get these new dresses. This girl can't hang on to a dress.
this is pre-fast fashion, and she's just throwing out these handmade gowns left and right.
I honestly would have liked to see something where, I don't know, you get a dress one mission, maybe it lasts for another mission after that, and then goes away, or like, but every mission, like, and the missions are all right after one another, and she's like, I gotta go get another dress. And I'm like, what did you do to the last dress? Because I'm like, I don't know, she's not that powerful, so I don't think it would have been overpowered to maybe let her keep her dress every now and again. I'm not saying like every mission.
Yeah.
She's okay. Did you have a favorite mission?
I think it was that mine mission. I really liked that one.
Where you have to push the cart
you have
throughout
to push
the map?
The cart, yeah.
That was really fun. There's so many of them. I'm trying to remember. I like the New Orleans one a lot, honestly. Like the first one.
I liked infiltrating the party. That was the one where I had Isabel just take everybody out.
You know what? I think that might be number 2 over New Orleans. The party one is a lot of fun where you have to get Mr. DeVite. You have to like dress up and they let you in. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed this when you get there and you're incognito with Kate and Cooper and there's a line of people waiting to get in and you just kind of go to the front of the line and then the non-playable characters that are waiting in line are like, we were here first.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did hear that. I did. I also love all the really great cheesy lines. Like when the train gets robbed and I think it's Cooper who says, something tells me you're not here to check my ticket. Like it's just nonsense. And it's like every mission there's somebody saying something really over the top. And again, it's like so conscious a choice that I'm here for it.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely ridiculous. And how they're in the first half of the game, you just go around like blowing up train tracks. Like it's no big deal. Like you're destroying this entire. There's like one train track connecting everything, and you're just blowing up bridges.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
I think the only times that it was maybe a little too cheesy was when it was trying to put in some kind of overwhelming story moment that felt really flat, like Uncle O'Hara dying. We both just laughed at it, but I think it was supposed to be sad.
We both knew he was going to die at the beginning. Like, yeah, this guy's going to die. This is going to like, because Kate needs some motivation too. But the way the cut scene was too, I don't know if it was very kind of choppy and rough. Didn't seem very well thought out. I don't know how to explain it, but he's shooting at the bad guys, and he's like, okay, and like goes back as he's walking back inside, like gets shot in the back. Like I don't know, it was just done really weird.
Strange,
yeah, it was a very strange cutscene. Like last minute, they were just like, oh wait, no, we have to kill him real fast, but just like throw it in there real fast. Like, I don't know. It's very weird.
I thought the Pier 9 storyline was also really strange, where Cooper says over and over, nobody goes in alone. He says that over and over, nobody's going in alone.
Oh my god.
Then he has an attack of amnesia. And right when you're in front of the gates, he goes, I'm going in alone.
He's going after the guy that killed his dad.
The guy who killed his dad, yeah.
I forget what his name is.
It's like, why did you have him say it then so many times? Nobody goes in alone.
Yeah, and then he shoots Sanchez like in the shoulder.
Yeah, he shoots Hector.
Because Hector's
in the Wild West, where you could die from like an infected toenail, but he's fine.
Because Hector's like, no, dude, like you're my bro, and I'm gonna come with you. And Cooper's like, no, and like shoots him in the shoulder.
Shoots him, boy,
Everyone's like, what the F? And then next mission, they're like, Hector's like, you guys need to give Cooper a second chance. Like, everything's cool between us. I'm like, what is happening?
Sometimes there was some casual gun violence that I thought it was just so unrealistic that it wasn't fun anymore. It's just like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, there's something else where someone gets shot, but I forget. Speaking of blowing up the train tracks, it's like the third or fourth mission, but when you have to plant the dynamite on the bridge and then from far away, like snipe it with Doc and then the whole bridge blows up. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
I almost wish there was a little more of that kind of stuff. I think there's one other mission where it's like the golden bullet moment, they call it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, those are cool. How did you feel about the limited ammo? That was a change from the first game. where your gun
Yeah.
just was overheating. I actually liked it. I thought it was creative.
I think it worked because
Yeah.
you didn't have. I mean, I played on hard, and I think there's one difficulty above that. But yeah, I mean, playing on hard.
It's like you run out, you have to figure it out.
And honestly, there's enough ammo crates, and you have so many other ways to kill people. Like, I think it worked because in the first game, it was so easy just to rely on Cooper, like shooting and throwing knives.
Yeah.
And in this game, it makes you, because his stuff is limited, you have to use the other people a little more. And I think it totally works. I'm totally fine with it.
I also had an issue with standing next to multiple different things I could interact with and not clicking on the right thing. We're playing on the PlayStation.
Yes.
I had to click. You had to click R3 to switch between them, but sometimes when you're in the middle of something and you're not thinking, I would want to like pick up a body really quick, but I was right next to a ledge, so then I was jumping over the ledge.
I was looking over my notes. I was going to my next thing, because having played Desperados 1 on the PC and now playing this game on a console, and I don't know that honestly that I've ever played a kind of overhead strategy game like this on a console. I've only ever played them on the PC, but besides that, how did you like the experience of that?
I thought they did it well. It took a while to go back to the character and actually have them run somewhere. I missed just being able to click on a spot and they run there automatically.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to fix that on a console. I thought they did pretty well with trying to adapt it. Yeah,
because I've definitely seen these types of games where they convert it to a console and it's like they almost give you like a mouse cursor to move around with your joystick.
Oh, really?
I'm like, that doesn't work at all. No. So yeah, no, the way they did it, I think, was really good.
It was just that one thing where if there were too many items to click on in the same spot, then the game...
Yeah, because it's like, they were all like press X, but there's like 3 things to press X on.
Yeah.
My version of that is if you click left, what is the pad on the PlayStation called on the far left? Like the D-pad or something? Like not the actual joystick, like the...
Yeah, the arrows.
Yeah, the arrow buttons. If you clicked, I believe, left on that and then hit X, it would speed up the game a little bit, which sometimes you're waiting for a certain action to happen and you don't want to just sit there for an hour, so you speed it up a little bit. The game has this signature view cone thing where you click on a bad guy and you can see where, like, the view cone swings around. You can see where they're looking. But then if I sped up and then pressed X, it would change the view cone
every time
to like the person I was closest to and kind of the center of the map, and not the person that I was trying to keep an eye on and actually speed up.
Yep.
So that was my main pet peeve with the controls. And again, I don't know if there's really any way around that because there's only so many buttons on a PlayStation controller.
That was annoying, yeah. The other thing also is that they didn't seem to make this font at all legible for...
Oh, the subtitles?
Yeah, anything.
Yeah.
Anything, yeah. The subtitles, any of
tiny.
the text. And we talked about how accessible The Last of Us was and how many things you could customize for people to be able to read everything.
Font size,
and then
font color.
And then going to this where like I was... Like I got LASIK and I couldn't read the font. It was a little frustrating, and you couldn't even change the font size. There were a lot of customizations that the game just wouldn't let you do, and I don't know why nobody thought of it. One of them was the character comments you couldn't turn off.
Yes, which you could do in the first game.
You could do in the first one. So every time you complete an action with a character, they have their signature line of right away.
If you switch characters, if you select a new character, they say like their catchphrase for that mission. Every
time.
Single time. And they only have like 2 or 3 recorded for each mission. And you're constantly switching characters, so it becomes incredibly annoying.
Yeah, again, a strange thing that could be a really easy fix, especially because it was in the first game from 20 years ago, but nobody thought of it, I guess.
Or if it's, maybe we think it's easy and it's not because you have to isolate all these audio files. Like, I don't know.
Okay.
I have no idea. The game studio, there was only 15 people working there. Like, they have a picture of them all at the end of the credits. Like, they did some Wild West outing. They're all all the game developers are like wearing cowboy hats or whatever. It wasn't that many people there. So, I don't know that much about how this stuff works behind the scenes. So it seems like an easy thing, but there's always a million things people complain about that seem easy and you only have time to do so many of them. But yeah, like after playing that second Last of Us, it was such like an aha moment of when it lets you customize the subtitles and everything. I was like, oh yeah, how is this not customizable in every game?
And also, how is this not a thing? Because there are plenty of people online from disabled communities who have been advocating for this and reaching out to developers and saying, I want to play your game, but I can't read any of the things. Yeah. So, I mean, it's time for these things to change.
It's a thing that never occurred to me before I honestly saw it in The Last of Us. I was like, oh, it just seems one of those things where the second you see it, you're like, oh yeah, how is this not just a thing all the time? That seems so obvious.
I wanted to talk about the replay screen. So whenever you finish a mission, there's like a sped up version. I always
skipped right through it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting to kind of see what you did, and it kind of followed this character line and just a sped up version of how long it took you to finish the mission.
Did you watch the screen every time?
No, I didn't watch it every time, but I thought it was a cool feature. Yeah. There are these red and blue boxes that keep popping up in the corner of the screen in these circular icons. It was never explained what they were. I searched the entire internet. I was like, am I just stupid and I can't figure it out? And nobody talked about them. I even reached out to the developer over social media, and they didn't get back to me. So it's a mystery. But again, it's weird because it's one of those things that they obviously put in there as something that you should get. Like this blue and red box is like popping up, and I'm like, I don't know what it is.
Like during the replay screen?
Yeah, it's in the top corner. And it's a circle icon, and then there's a red box and a blue box, and the numbers go up in those boxes, and I don't know what the numbers represent. I don't know what the colors represent.
Well, red, I would guess, means a kill. Blue, like you knocked somebody out. I don't know.
I thought that too, but that didn't correspond to the... I don't know.
Well, we'll never know.
We'll never know. Also, something I really enjoyed was when you pick up a body, all the hiding places are illuminated. You know, the bushes, all the... You can do this with this body. I think it was just made it a little bit easier for the player
the body just kind of disappeared, you mean?
Yeah. To make a decision of where to go, or...
Because in the first game, you'd end up... There'd be like 20 bodies in this one bush you're hiding, and they're all like outlined. It just looked ridiculous after a while. And in this game, if you have one of the dead guy's bodies and you hide it in the bush, then it just kind of... like seeps into the ground. It just kind of disappears, which it's good. Yeah, it's a good way to do it.
This was also a really big year for killing dogs in video games.
Yeah, so they added dogs in this game. Every once in a while a bad guy would have a dog, and he can like
sniff you out.
Yeah, hiding in the bush isn't gonna help. He's gonna sniff you out, fool. Oh, yeah, you'd have to kill some dogs sometimes.
And the unrealistic swimming, too.
Oh, my God. Like, swimming through the Mississippi swamp. That was my favorite.
I looked up, like, can you swim through the Mississippi River? No, please don't try it.
Yeah, they swim through the river next to a waterfall, by the way.
Yeah.
And then you're in a swamp in one mission. You know, never mind the disgusting water, but there's also... Like
yeah,
you're in
the water's
swamp.
Really toxic. I looked that up too.
It's a swamp. Like there's going to be alligators.
And, yeah.
Like this is the Mississippi swamp. You don't want to be swimming through that.
It's like I read Huckleberry Finn. Like I know how strong the currents are. It just reminded me of there's this part in The Last of Us with Abby where you have to get to another shore and you were stuck there and you looked at me and you're like, does it want me to swim through the ocean? I'm like, yep. Like, you can do that now.
It was like a lightning thunder rainstorm, and it's right off the coast of Seattle, and the water's just like just going like whitewater rafting. I was like, wait, I'm supposed to swim through this? Are you out of your mind?
Also, after that war scene where you just have this little rudder boat and you make it back to Seattle in the open ocean.
Oh my God, your little paddle boat, and you're going from like to an island off the coast of Seattle. Never. Well, that's enough about The Last of Us.
It's just about the swimming mechanics in video games that just always crack me up.
How did you feel? Okay, I honestly towards the end of the game got a little bored with it. And I don't know if you felt the same way, but 3/4 of the way through the game, there isn't really anything new that's introduced.
Okay, so you need a little bit more.
I don't know, and I was just kind of like, okay, I just kind of found myself every mission kind of doing the same stuff. And I wish I would have been able to use some of the other stuff like Doc's little gas bomb there, but I never really used that because you only have like one of it. And I don't know. I mean, I just, at the end of the game, I was just a little bit like, okay.
I'm ready for it to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how to solve that though either because it's not like they can just come up with something else.
I know. That's just, it's my own personal problem.
Yeah, I know how you feel though.
It's like, okay, like, because after a while, all the environmental kills are sort of the same. Because, you know, in the beginning, it's like one mission, you find out you can kill some guy by having the horse kick. And then the next mission, oh, you can drop a boulder on somebody. And, like, it kind of introduces all these cool new things. And then after a while, I feel like there isn't anything else to discover. And I was like, okay, like, I've kind of seen it all. And now it's just a different mission, but I'm going through the same motions. And yeah, I was kind of ready for it to be over with at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, it's a big year for revenge stories. It's funny that this whole game is about John Cooper, like he's going too far to avenge his dad. But then I was like, wait a minute, the second one is called Cooper's Revenge. So what is that one?
It's a Western. It's always revenge.
At what point is it you, though, John? Like, at what point do you have to take a look in the mirror?
John Cooper. Daddy. I guess I do like how John is not a complete... It's his progression to be a badass, right? Because in the first game, he's just like badass John Cooper. In this game, he gets his ass kicked multiple times by the bad guy. I'm like, that's a nice little twist. Because they have, I think 3 duels total.
Yeah.
And the first 2, John gets like shot or loses. And then the third one, he finally kills the bad guy. So it's like his progression to be badass John Cooper.
I thought this game also did a much better job than the first Desperados at coming up with reasons for why you're doing it, or the violence and the killing that you have to do within the games. It's explained why this is happening. The one that's really, really kind of sticks in my brain from the first one is when you rescue Sanchez from a prison and you kill like a battalion of 200 like soldiers who are just doing their job at this like prison compound.
Right.
And you're like, wait a minute, like I should turn myself in.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, you're actually just killing bad guys in this game.
Right.
I think I pointed this out to you. When you hover over them, sometimes they have nicknames.
Oh, yeah.
But sometimes they don't. So it was like every once in a while, some random bad guy, if you hover over him, would be like, you know, John One-Eye Bob. Like, I don't have these weird nicknames.
Hey, they had time to put that in, but they couldn't fix the font.
It wasn't like any sort of special bad guy. It was just another regular looking bad guy. Every once in a while, they'd have an actual name. It was like very, like so random. Like somebody was like, yeah, let's all give them names. And then they realized that's way too much work.
And then they kind of stopped.
Like, dropped it halfway through.
I found out a little bit about Jimson weed. It's the herb that
Isabel uses.
That Isabel uses to heal herself. So you can smoke it. It can also be used as an anesthesia, but it's also really toxic and it can kill you. So that's why it hasn't really caught on as like as much as weed has or other things. But it has been used traditionally by Native American cultures to commune with spirits, and it's also associated with voodoo in Haiti. So that's probably why they chose to give it to her, because she's a voodoo witch. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know anything about plants. And
that's one of the first things when she was introduced. You're like, do you have a problem that the only like black woman in this, of course, is like some voodoo witch? And I don't know, like looking into it more, like she is from South, New Orleans, Mississippi, and the Mississippi voodoo like is a thing, and I'm like, I think it's and she's like the most badass of the bunch, and I'm like, I think it's fine because everyone else is a stereotype in the game, and
because if I think back to the first game, especially with Sam, the black character, it's like. And there was some really bad stereotypes in the first one, so I was just a little wary of.
Plus, it doesn't. Yeah, like that Jimson weed, like as someone actually did a minor amount of research of like what Mississippi voodoo is, it would have been one thing to have her and she has like a voodoo doll and like which isn't.
I don't know anything about voodoo.
I looked a tiny bit into voodoo, and there's all sorts of different types of voodoo, and it's actually a lot more complex and has a lot more history than just this tourist shit we all think of when now it's just like, oh, a voodoo doll. Like, there's so much more to voodoo. So the fact that he didn't just go straight to that with her, I think is good. And I don't know, she's my favorite character.
Yeah.
So I'm
she has
cool
a cat, of course.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the cat, of course. Which I used a couple times.
No, I didn't use a cat either.
There was a couple times I had to sneak by somebody and I would distract them with the kitty cat, but I didn't use it that much. It's a badass cat.
I have only one more thing on my list, but do you have anything there that
You go.
Yeah?
You go for it.
I just wanted to go into contract law.
Contract law?
Yes.
Okay.
It keeps coming up in the books I read and the movies I watch and TV shows. And I'm like, are people getting just scammed all the time today because they don't know what constitutes a contract?
Sure.
And I don't know if you as a realtor have experience with these things of people just like not understanding.
Yeah, no, I think people don't understand.
They don't understand it.
All you have to do is look at the music industry, even just...
Yeah,
well,
that's true.
I mean, even just today, if you look at South Korea, but if you look at like 60s, 70s, even into 80s, like rock musicians, they would get screwed on their contracts all the time. And I mean, now in America here, people have wisened up to it, and it seems to be like with the K-pop, you talk about it all the time, their contracts. It's just ridiculous. I don't know that those kids always know what they're signing.
Well, the parents have their kids. I think the parents would have to sign on their behalf.
I guess.
So.
But no, I really do think, like, because now you would like hire a music lawyer to look over your contract if you're a musician. Like, that wasn't like a thing not that long ago. And especially, so I don't know, if I'm thinking about the Wild West, I don't know what everyone, probably your level of education's not that great. And so if you have some rich guy who, maybe he is a lawyer or something, he's just way more sophisticated on that stuff
So you're
than
saying
you.
Kate and John are idiots?
Yeah, I don't know that they... I think it's reasonable to think that they don't quite get what a contract is, maybe. I don't know. I mean, John, his dad died when he was like 10, and I don't know, who the hell do you get raised by wolves? Like, I don't know how smart John Cooper actually is.
He was raised by Hector.
He's just kind of a gunslinger,
Yeah, so the storyline that I'm referring to is Higgins, Kate's intended husband, has the deed to her uncle's ranch, and the game proposes that because he's in possession of this deed, he now owns the farm. It makes no sense. I think people also have this misconception of if something is in writing, that means it's legal. And
right.
people have only recently, since the Victorian age, normal people know how to read and write. So that's actually not a required component of a contract. Though, of course, nowadays we have everything written down, so it's easier to prove in court.
Verbal contracts can be valid, but it's basically unenforceable because it turns into he said, she said. Yeah.
So the interesting thing here is if Kate really was intended to have this farm after her uncle died, and she had married Higgins, then he would have to wait for the uncle to die, and he then owns the farm. Because under coverture law, women cannot own property if they're married.
Right.
So for him to think that he now has the deed and he can just own the farm, I just thought it was weird that they didn't just say, oh, he has this deed, we have to get it back because he has it illegally. Like, he owns the farm now because he has the deed. I don't know. Just the whole storyline there was...
But it's also just... Obviously, the area they're living in is super corrupt. And so if someone says, this is my farm, and they have, like, the sheriff is backing them up, like, what the hell are you going to do, too?
Right, I guess.
If you have a corrupt rich person and corrupt law enforcement, like,
But then they don't even need the contract, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's like, what was the point of getting the deed
I'm like, you're not going to go like viral on CNN and get a bunch of social media support for your case. Like, you're just kind of left out on your own, Yeah, it's all a little bit... The story is definitely...
murky.
An afterthought. It's more just about like, hey, let's hang out with these people in the Wild West, and like, don't you want to just hang out in this world? Which I do. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say. I mean... Yes, so having just played The Last of Us 2, and now this, I had a much better time with this simple little Wild West strategy game than The Last of Us too, which is sad, but also beautiful in a way. Like, because what is like where the people that made this is Sweden? I think it's a Swedish studio. I'm pretty sure.
Me Games. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's Swedish, and that a small little studio.
Wait, let's look this up real quick.
Oh, they're German. They're based in Munich. I mean, that makes sense because this game, for whatever reason, was really successful in Germany. And I was trying to find out what the sales were per country. I'm like, where was this game most popular? Because people here don't really seem to know the game that much. But I remember it being like a big deal in Germany for whatever. Because Germans like love Wild West.
We
shit.
love Wild West stuff. Yeah.
So the fact that this game studio is based in Germany, that makes a lot of sense if they're trying to pay homage to the first one. I think I read a rumor that they're going to make another Desperados game because this one seemed to be doing pretty well. So I'm all for it.
I think it's just the fantasy of, like, if you're surrounded by castles and forests and greenery, the fantasy of having nothing there and it's just you on your horse.
The vast open space. Yeah. I get that. But no, but the point I was making is it's beautiful that this little German game developer can make a game that I enjoy more than Naughty Dog's Last of Us 2, which costs millions of dollars, and
they overthought that game.
Yeah.
Whereas this game is more of like, we know what we're doing and we're gonna.
They underthought it when it comes to the storyline. No, I mean, story aside, there's a lot of thought that went into this game, and the game looks fantastic.
The mechanics are fun, even if they got repetitive towards the end.
No, and I think now you can pick up the game for like $40 if you look hard enough. So I think it's worth your time.
Definitely.
9 out of 10. I'm giving a 9 out of 10.
Love it.
Good stuff. You want to sign us out, Tabby?
Yeah, you can find us on our website, modernlifepodcast.com, on Instagram and Twitter at modernlifepod. Send us an email, modernlifepod@gmail.com. And in December, we'll be coming out with our holiday episode and our anniversary episode. I think it's 3 years for us that we're doing the podcast. So look out for that.
All right. Bye.